So I will call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the January 13th, 2022 school committee meeting in keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote and attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live on Facebook and recorded on ECAT. This meeting is open to the public and will take questions via the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Please make sure to include your full name and address. We'll do our best to answer all questions. However, we will not read questions that have already been answered. So welcome. All right. So the first up is the regular school committee meeting minutes from Thursday, December 9th, 2021. Any questions, comments, edits? Caroline, are you, I can't tell if you're trying to come off mute. No, you're good? Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the Easton School Committee meeting minutes for regular meeting Thursday, December 9th, 2021?
So
Stars.
Star
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Rance, yes.
Luca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
Thank you. The next minutes are from the executive session from Thursday, December 9th, 2021. Does anyone want me to hold them for comments or questions at a later date? All right. Can I get a motion to accept the executive session school committee meeting minutes for Thursday, December 9th, 2021 and not release?
O'Neill, so moved.
Can I get a second?
Star, second.
All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Rance, yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Jackie?
I'm sorry, you didn't hear me. Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
That's silly mute. All right, thank you. All right, item 3, recognition of the 2020-2021 MIAA Coach of the Year, Dr. Cabral.
Thank you. And Coach Barada is with us this evening. I'll have Mrs. Pruitt bring him over to the panel. At this point, I will say I am going to be a couple of minutes though, because I don't typically read during these meetings, but I feel as though Coach Barada, who is well loved by all of us, of course, and well known in the community, has so many outstanding accomplishments that I would feel it remiss to leave any of them out. I hope I don't, but I want to highlight the many that we captured in our press release of this prestigious honor. So Coach Barada, Coach John Barada, who's here, and you can see, he's been selected to receive the 2020-2021 Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, or MIAA, Coach of the Year Award for soccer. Award recipients are selected based upon excellence of character, impact on students and community, and coaching credentials. He will be recognized at an event that is expected to be held later this month. Now I'd like to just give you a summary, though it is a little bit lengthy, of his tremendous work and accomplishments. Try not to blush, Coach. Coach Barada has coached the boys varsity soccer team at OA for 13 seasons. In that time, he has led the program to a 169, 44, and 40 record, 12 MIAA state tournament appearances, 3 state championship appearances, and 1 state championship title. The team went 13-4-2 this fall and was the Hawk League Davenport Division champions. The team qualified for the state tournament and ultimately made it to round 16. Coach Barada has been recognized by the Boston Globe, the Hockomock League, and Eastern Massachusetts Soccer Coaches Association a total of 7 times, as well as the Mass Youth Soccer Association Girls Competitive Coach of the Year and with the United Soccer Coaches Coach of Significance Award. His coaching philosophy revolves around guiding players along their soccer journey and helping them to reach their potential both on and off the field. He works to create a positive and player-focused environment and believes that his background as a youth minister has allowed him to use his relational ministry skills to guide players and build lifelong relationships that extend beyond the soccer field. Under Coach Barada's leadership, players have volunteered hundreds of hours with the Easton Youth Soccer League, the Easton Lions Club, and my brother's keeper. He is also invested in players' academic success and works to help find support for any player who would benefit from academic assistance. His teams have been recognized each year for the past 7 years with the United Soccer Coaches Team Academic Award. During the 2021 school year, the team was also recognized by United Soccer Coaches with the Team Ethics and Sportsmanship Award. Coach Barada was nominated for the MIAA Coach of the Year Award by our athletic director, Bill Matthews, who wrote in his nomination letter, quote, "John has high expectations of his players on the field, in the classroom, and in the community, and he provides them with the tools and support they need to meet and exceed those expectations." Perhaps more important than the statistics and recognition is John's commitment to seeing his players develop not only into good soccer players, but into good citizens as well. Mr. Matthews added, "It's hard to imagine anyone who loves soccer as much as John and is as invested in fostering that same love of the game in others. His enthusiasm for soccer is contagious, and his ability to engage with kids of all ages is remarkable." As the director of coach and player development for Easton Youth Soccer, Coach Barada also started a program to introduce preschoolers to soccer, many of whom have grown up to be valuable contributors to the Oliver Ames soccer program. Not that that dates you, sir. And many have credited him with sparking their love for the game. Coach has also held several positions in professional and coaching associations, including serving on the YMCA Board of Governors, Parish Youth Enrichment Board, Hanson Youth Soccer Board of Directors, P3 Foundation Board, Eastern Massachusetts Soccer Coaches Association Board, United Soccer Coaches Advocacy Board, United Soccer Coaches Advocacy Group Chair, United Soccer Federation Instructor, and Easton Youth Soccer Board. In addition to his role at Oliver Ames, he is the Director of Soccer and owner at Beautiful Game Soccer Academy in Hanson and CEO at Legacy Soccer Club in Hanson. He previously served as Director of Operations in New England for the Club Champions League New England in Hanson and the General Manager for the Real Boston Rams of the United Soccer League out of Quincy. He also holds a Master Coach in Soccer Leaders Diploma from the University of Delaware and a number of other certifications from various soccer and coaching related organizations. I will say for myself that the OA Boys Varsity Soccer Program has thrived under Coach Barada's leadership and mentorship. He's been a wonderful supporter of players' successes as athletes, as students, and as individuals, as well as members of the community. He's very well deserving of this reward, and we are so proud to see him recognized for these outstanding accomplishments. Thank you and congratulations, Coach Barada.
Thank you very much. I don't blush often, so I survived that one. And I am dated. It's okay. I just saw a photo of me and now Casey Milliken, who is a freshman, when he was in a Halloween gear, right? He was wearing a Tigger outfit. And I just got a photo from his mom about that. So I am dated, but I just want to thank the school committee for the chance to thank you for allowing me to have my role and my position here at Oliver Ames. I do know that you could go other directions, so I do thank you for that. I do want to thank Dr. Cabral. You've always been a great I say friend, but mentor, even during our time on the board of the YMCA board. So I do thank you for your support as well. And then obviously, Wes, who has pushed on and moved on, I thank him for giving me the chance because he hired me back in 2009. So he didn't have to do that. So I do thank him. And now Principal Kavanaugh has gone on to support me as well. And she's been terrific. So I just want to thank the whole administration. The teachers are awesome, right? I mean, to be fair, I have to ask them to do a lot of work for us to get those awards, right? So our guidance counselors have to fill out the information on the kids' academics. And obviously they're doing a good job of educating our kids. I mean, this year I am very happy that we can boast was the highest GPA of the team. It was a 3.87. And I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, to be honest, I'm hoping we can match that again, but we'll hopefully continue to match the 3.2, which is the minimum standard. But this year was excellent. But I do want to thank Bill and Mary, right? I mean, Bill Matthews has been obviously he has to deal with me. Like I do like the sport a lot and I am passionate about it, but I'm sure I'm not easy to deal with sometimes. So I am very grateful for Bill's patience and his desire to keep me around. So I want to thank him and Mary for all that they do, because especially the last couple of years, that the entire school system has been pretty phenomenal for just keeping our kids healthy, active, and mobile and doing something. So I'll say kudos to all of you. I do not envy any of your roles in today's world, but I do thank you for everything you've done to keep the kids safe and going to school and doing what they're doing best. And I try to do my little part. And I do have to say, I want to thank my boys, right? The family that we have of the high school boys, the alumni. It's funny that, it has been 13 years. So I've now been to weddings and the kids are having kids. And it is strange yet rewarding all at the same time. I have alumni that are updating my website on a professional front. So like I'm now hiring them to do work. So it's become a really amazing journey. So I thank all of you for that. It keeps me as young as I can be. And without all of your support and the community in Easton, which is amazing, to be fair, I've now been here 16 years in Easton. And my time as a youth minister was amazing here. So I just want to say thank you. So I want to take the time now to say thank you to the community and to Easton and again to the school committee and Dr. Cabral for everything that you guys have done to support the boys program, the soccer program in general, the girls program, and anything in general, to be honest. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Anyone from school committee wish to say anything?
Jen?
Coach, congratulations. I know my kids haven't played soccer really past the, preschool to first or second grade level, but a lot of their friends have gone through the OA soccer program, and a lot of my friends have had kids go through the program, and they have always just spoken incredibly highly of you. So I just want to thank you for building such a good program, and that really focuses on character and the whole person. You really make a huge, huge impact on those kids and bring us a lot of pride. So thank you for all that you do. Congratulations. This is very well deserved.
Caroline?
I absolutely echo everything that Jen said. I do have a question. I know that it was mentioned in what Leisha read that you had started a preschool program in soccer, and as the grandmother of a 3-year-old, not in Easton, but I'm just curious, how did that go? What was that like?
Well, we still have it now. So 14 years later, it's still very active, and we have about 100 and plus kids every season in the pre-K program. It's fantastic. I mean, just so we're clear, it's not really like soccer, professional soccer. It's more of like jumping around cones and rolling around and being silly and like imagination, but it's gone very well. But they do grow. Like, I mean, there are kids now that have been All-Americans in this sport at this school that have come from that pre-K program. So like, although it was silly and parents are like, what are you doing? It does work in the long run. But yeah, it's great. And if your kids want to, or if your grandkids want to jump in, they don't have to be from Easton. So they can come and take a look at it.
It sounds like great fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? My boys did not go through soccer as we moved later in their education to Easton, but just wow, just hearing, no wonder Dr. Cabral had to read that. That's an amazing legacy. And thank you for everything you've done for those kids in our programs.
Well, thank you everyone for the kind words. And again, it doesn't happen. It takes a village, right? So we're all part of it. So although I don't live in Easton, I feel like I do. I just couldn't afford it back in the day. And I probably still couldn't, but it is part of my community. So I do really appreciate it. So thank you everyone for the kind words.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Congratulations.
Good night.
Okay. Vote to approve an out-of-state travel trip. Dr. Cabral?
Sure. Corinne McCarthy, who is our PE Health and Wellness Department Chair, is here this evening, and she'll be joining the panel in a moment. She's presenting an out-of-state travel trip to the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America Leadership Forum, which is held in Alexandria, Virginia from January 30th to February 3rd. Easton Wings of Hope is generously offering to fund the trip. Corinne is here, as I said, this evening. She is joined by Lisa St. Mary and Kelly Reed. Lisa St. Mary, of course, from all of our Ames therapeutic staff and counseling staff, and Kelly Reed from the Easton Wings of Hope. And so I will kick it over to Corinne, and they can answer any questions you have. Of course, this is for a vote this evening, so they will present to you, answer questions, and then we'll have your vote. Corinne?
So I just want to kind of go over what CADCA is. CADCA is a Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. I did and have the opportunity to go pre-COVID to the conference with the Easton Wings of Hope coordinator and Eileen Gardner a couple years ago. When we were there, it was the most amazing experience. And every time we looked at each other, like, oh, wish we had kids here, wish we had kids. So we had planned on going, hopefully, and then COVID happened. So our plans were put on hold. This event and this forum is one of the premier leadership forums. It's the largest training event in the community base of substance use and misuse prevention. And it's really specialized in youth leadership training from top experts, information tools, strategies, workshops, latest science and news on substance abuse and misuse. We also get to visit the Capitol Hill Day and meet with local legislation to kind of recognize that we're here and we want your support on different issues. The kids, there is a track of it's leadership training for youth as well as for adults, but we kind of merge together. Kelly or Lisa, do you want to add anything?
So did you have something that you wanted to say?
Oh, I was just going to add that I think one of the neat things about this experience, especially because Easton Wings of Hope is helping support it, is that the students will have the opportunity not just to attend the conference and learn there, but part of the idea for applying to go on this trip is that they will commit to bringing that material, that information and that learning back to the community of Easton, and sharing it with their peers and finding ways to stay active and connected. And Kelly can talk about it, but the Easton Wings of Hope organization is going to facilitate that and continue to bring those students together. And then they would go back to their own organizations. They're all student leaders from different clubs at Oliver Ames, Student Council, the SAD Club, et cetera. And they could, get other students interested in the work and kind of really bring all those different student body organizations together to keep that work going. That's what I was just going to add.
Hi, everyone. I haven't had the privilege of meeting you all, but my name is Kelly Reed, and I'm the program coordinator for Easton Wings of Hope. And this opportunity came up a couple months ago, and I had talked to Corinne and Lisa about it, and we talked about, where would we ask kids to do it. We wanted to make sure that anybody who wanted to apply to go on the trip could go. And so we came up with kind of an application process and asked them why they want to go on the trip, how they see themselves bringing back what they learned to their communities. And it was really kind of touching to read some of the applications, what the students were saying about their passion for making a change in their community and preventing substance use and wanting to learn about it. And, you know, these are just short questions, and they were submitting like paragraphs long about their passion for it and how they had a fellow student who had passed away from an overdose in the prior year. And so just reading that was really encouraging. And we're so excited at Easton Wings of Hope to be able to fund this event, and we hope that we have your support on it. Thank you.
Any school committee members have any questions? I can't see everyone. Jen?
So I love your organization, and your mission is very near and dear to my heart. And I love everything about this except for the fact that we're in a peak of a pandemic. So I want to hear more about what I see. So I know we're requiring that everybody get vaccinated, and you know, everybody who is attending the conference will be vaccinated. Everybody will be wearing masks, but I'd like to know more about what's the plan around if somebody gets sick while they're on the trip. Because, you know, we've approved some trips for other for foreign travel and domestic travel, but they're run by big travel tour organizations who have a lot of infrastructure in place to be able to have somebody stay with somebody who's sick and can't travel, et cetera, et cetera. So can you tell us more about sort of what the safety at regarding COVID and traveling right now?
Sure. So I can speak to what we've kind of come up with so far. So we worked with Lynn LeBlanc at Oliver Ames to kind of create what our plan would be, and, you know, rely back on the EPS playbook as well to make sure that no matter where we are in the country, we're following those rules. So if anyone did develop symptoms, you know, we would look to get them tested. And we talked even about I talked to Chrissy about this possibility. We might have to look into it further of possibly being able to bring some of the test to stay program has, you know, the school has their own tests, maybe being able to bring some of those with us so that if students do develop symptoms, we don't have to worry as much about finding a local testing site, although that is something we will research and make sure we have the information for beforehand, but to be able to test anybody who does develop symptoms while they're there. And if they do test positive, then we would, you know, we created a plan to be able to isolate them in one hotel room, and we should have enough to do that. And be flexible that way. And Easton Wings of Hope is understanding and willing to, you know, fund extra rooms if we need to be able to provide that space. And then one of us, you know, staff members would be in touch with the school to notify them, and that way that we could get in touch with the nurses and the administration and make sure we're getting guidance for, you know, all the next steps, and the family, you know, that we would need to take from there. And if a student is positive and needs to do their 5-day quarantine, then we would have to arrange for one of us to stay with them until they're cleared to fly. And that's part of the reason why there's 2 of us going from Oliver Ames, so that we would have, we have enough staff to make whatever plan needs to happen work. I'm trying to think if I've left anything out. Corinne or Kelly, just pipe in. But
if I can just add about the test and stay. So we have 2 programs going on in Easton right now. We have test and stay and symptomatic testing. So any child or staff member that has symptoms, whether they're vaccinated or not, during the school day can get tested using our protocols. So this would actually fall under the symptomatic testing. And since it's a school sponsored event, that's why we would potentially be able to send some tests with them, and they would only be used if a child or a staff member develops symptoms. It would not be used otherwise. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then if they weren't used, they would return back to our pool of tests.
And I just also want to add, like, I did have COVID over vacation. So I do feel comfortable if something was to happen, because I have had it, and I would definitely kind of be in that person of support just because of the situation. And we would totally follow the playbook to the top and make sure everyone is notified.
Caroline?
Has any thought been given to maybe testing everyone before you leave? I know that everyone has to be vaccinated, and I think that actually the CDC is close to considering full vaccination, including boosters, but it may not be time yet for those students to have had boosters. But I'm just wondering if maybe it would make sense to also test prior to leaving, so that you wouldn't have a situation that a student might be asymptomatically, but asymptomatic but positive, getting at the destination and then learning at that point that they were positive. Just a thought. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that that would be a requirement, but I'm wondering if you've given thought to that idea.
I just want to chime in that is unfortunately not something that the district could offer, because the tests that we have through the state, we are not able to utilize them for that purpose. So that would have to be
certainly, certainly if they are able to get tests from a pharmacy, they could absolutely test themselves. The other thing I wanted to add was that unlike our overseas trips that are upcoming, this is, though not necessarily a convenient distance, if in the worst case scenario, a parent wanted their child home, they literally could pick them up and drive them home. They're not stuck in Alexandria without a flight. I think that's a very important thing to consider.
One other thing to mention is that they did, I think they called them EMT stations, but I just read an update from CADCA, and Kelly, correct me if this is not saying it right, but where there's going to be like EMT stations or people, medical support stations throughout the conference, and disposable masks available to all the participants. But just know, like, we're staying in the same hotel convention center where the conference is being held, and just knowing that those staff are even right in the building made me feel good too, just in case anybody were having a concerning symptom or whatever. Obviously we have emergency 911 medical personnel as well, but I think that CADCA is really trying to step up their safety game as well. And I can just say, like, I had already thought about testing myself. I will test myself before we go and when I get back, just as a precaution. I think we could probably strongly encourage the students to do the same. I don't know that we could require that per se, but I think we could certainly talk to them and their families about it.
Thank you.
Jackie?
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you for all the thought that you've been putting into this. I'm just wondering, you're going there, you're flying there, you're staying in a hotel, you're going out to restaurants, you're going to a convention center with a lot of people. Do you know what kind of protocols are in place in terms of the numbers of people that are going to be in rooms together? How are you going to handle this? It's, you look at the CDC website, you see what's going on everywhere, and it does make me a little nervous to think of sending kids into a large convention center with people from all over the country, I'm assuming. Don't know who's vaccinated, who's not, whether they're testing, whether they're not. And that has me a little concerned. So I was wondering if you could address that.
I can address you have to be vaccinated to go to the convention center. So everyone is vaccinated. As far as in the past, it has been a pretty large convention. My assumption that it probably is not going to be as large as it was in the past, but Kelly might have a better understanding of that. But for rooms assignments, it's 2 people in a room, that kind of for hotels, and that is standard of what it's been. But again, Kelly, do you know the size of the registration?
I'm not sure the exact size of the registration. I know that CADCA is following as many protocols as they can to keep everyone safe while still having the event take place. So masks are required at all times, except for when you're eating or drinking. And Easton Wings of Hope has acknowledged the fact that, like, eating out at a restaurant would probably be a little more risky, and so we're going to look into food options while we're there that we might like eat in our hotel rooms or eat in a place where we can all distance. So that's been something that we've taken into consideration. So really the only time that we'll be outside of the convention center where everyone is required to be vaccinated and masked will be with the airport travel. And That's it. And Easton Wings of Hope will be providing extra PPE. So we'll be providing extra masks, extra Lysol wipes for everything. I mean, granted, that's not exactly protocol, but we will be providing that just as an extra. If a kid needs something, we'll have that on hand.
A lot of the conference, we're doing a breakout session track. So I know there might be some large group pieces to the conference, but a lot of it is going to be everybody breaking into smaller groups and going to workshops. So a lot of the times will be with smaller groups rather than the large group. But we certainly understand everyone's concerns. I mean, there is, no matter what we do, there's going to be some level of risk in general for all of us. But I think we feel like the timing of this is so important, especially because the kids are so motivated and enthusiastic right now to do this work. And I mean, I feel like I always am trying to walk that line between, we want to wait till things are safe, but then at the same time, we need this kind of work more than ever right now, because the numbers of people who are struggling with mental health needs and with substance abuse difficulties because of everything we've all been through in the last couple of years are super high. So it's a lot, but we are trying to kind of think through all that and take it all into consideration.
I mean, I'm like Jackie, I'm really struggling with the time, well, and most people, the timing. The numbers are fairly high here and there and everywhere. The idea of, hotel rooms, you're unmasked in a hotel room, and that's just the reality of it. And that's a lot of close contact time. Even for vaccinated people, there's a lot of breakthrough cases. And I'm struggling with, it's a wonderful event. I love everything about it. I'm just struggling with the timing and some of the potential issues that might come up from that. I don't know if anyone else has another comment. No?
Yeah.
Yes, Caroline.
So as you know, I'm usually the one who's most cautious, if anything. I have to say, though, it's kind of interesting reading the projections. I think that by the end of January, the expectation is that much of this surge will have swept through. No one knows, and there could be more very unpleasant surprises that the coronavirus will bring us in its various iterations. But my sense from the reading I've done recently is that things will be, strangely enough, I know it's only a little over 2 weeks away, but the expectation by most experts is that things will be on the downswing at that point. The other thing is, with only two, I'm assuming the two people in the hotel rooms would be kids that are already from Easton together, is that right? Or will they be with strangers?
No, we're bringing 5 students. So there will be one student who has their own room and then 2 pairs of 2. So
it's going to be the Easton students. So we will have a degree of confidence that they really have all followed through with vaccination and with the other sort of pre-trip measures that are so important. So my feeling is that it probably is safer than it would be right now. Will be safer than it would be right now in 2 weeks. I don't know. I am not one of those experts that I'm reading about or reading information from, but that does seem to be kind of a consensus, is that this Omicron variant is just whisking through places. Anyway, that's just a thought. I mean, obviously you have put a great deal of effort into coming up with the protocols, ensuring that the kids are as safe as possible under really very difficult circumstances, which everyone is facing now. But my guess is that they might not be any less safe than they are, frankly, in school right now. And everyone is pretty much, it's pretty much the consensus that kids need to be in school now. So I'm inclined to, with reservations, support it.
Caroline, they're not going to be in our schools for 8 hours unmasked next to each other.
I just want to point out that Caroline's absolutely right about the projections. We're talking about vaccinated students who are using precautions. They might be sharing a room, but weeks after this event, we have kids going overseas, staying in rooms together as well. And we're not talking about hundreds of students. We're talking about 4 students sharing a room. And ultimately, it's the parents' decision whether they choose to send their child or not. You can approve the trip or not, but parents are not required to send their children. This is not an academic requirement. This is not something that there's any kind of repercussion if they don't attend. I think that's important to keep in mind. I am not saying that any overseas trip is not important, but if we're talking about an event that has literally the potential to save lives in this district, this would be it.
I think though that those overseas trips are in April. That's like 7 or 8 weeks farther down the road with a lot more warm weather and outdoor time. That's just my opinion. I mean,
I wanted to circle back on the idea of having everybody test. Obviously, Ms. McCarthy, you wouldn't because you just had COVID, unfortunately. So, but for anybody who hasn't had it within, whatever that window is, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, I think it would make sense if we were to add that just as we were the ones who added the requirement that students needed to be vaccinated for any overnight trips. So I'm wondering if that's something that we can, as a committee, add as a stipulation to this, that anybody get a negative test before flying. I know it's not required for domestic flights, which frankly I think is kind of crazy, but applying the same requirement that's used for international flights, which is that negative test however many days ahead of time, et cetera. Just wondering what people think of that, if that would kind of give another layer of protection.
I would just, if that's something that people consider, I would just exempt those that have tested positive for COVID within the last 90 days, because they could still be testing positive regardless.
Yeah, following whatever those established parameters are around testing before, I think it's international flight.
If that's your requirement and you ultimately approve this, then we'll provide the tests for that.
We're not talking about a large number of tests, so it's a small group, relatively speaking. So that would be very helpful. I think that would assuage some of our concerns.
Yeah, I think it sort of sets you up to knowing that you're starting with a clean slate. You're going to be mixing and mingling, but only for a few days. And so hopefully if anybody does come in contact with anybody, they wouldn't have symptoms or have any issues until they got home, and hopefully wouldn't have any at all.
And there certainly is evidence that people who are vaccinated carry much lower viral loads and for a shorter period, so that it would probably be, as you said, if someone contracted the virus while they were there, it's a fairly short period of time, probably wouldn't be actually contagious until they got back here. I mean, I certainly would recommend testing when they come back as well, but I think testing, as you say, I like the idea of a clean slate, having the testing, right before the trip. We certainly did require that of our teachers coming back after the holidays, so makes sense.
anyone else? Nancy, were you?
I was going to make a motion. I was going to make a motion to accept this trip, and I wish everybody good luck.
All right, do I have a second?
O'Neill, second.
Roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durant, no.
DeLuca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
All right, great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I hope you guys have a great time, and the students,
you
and
so
stay
much.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next is vote to accept an anonymous books to bandages donation to OA. Dr. Cabral?
This is very exciting. We have Mrs. Kavanaugh, principal from OA here. I don't think we have, yes, we have Mrs. Kavanaugh. So she's going to join the panel. I'll try not to steal her thunder, but I do want to tell you that if you recollect, we had an extremely generous donation of $1 million endowment not too long ago to provide several scholarships per year for all of our Ames students. And we are very excited to tell you that this generous benefactor has offered once again to offer another $1 million endowment for scholarships for our students. This is so big for our kids, sorry. This is going to benefit specifically students who are pursuing an education in the field of nursing or education, which now more than ever, are two pipelines, economic pipelines, where we need to really foster student participation in pursuing these fields. So I'll let Mrs. Kavanaugh share the details, but I can hardly contain just how exciting this is. And while this very generous person who's giving back to their community that they feel gave so much to them wishes to remain anonymous, I hope in some way, at some time, in some universe, they know just how thankful we are on behalf of the kids and how thankful our kids are for them thinking of them in this way and literally changing the trajectory of lives here for our students. Mrs. Kavanaugh?
Thank you. Yeah, let me just echo Dr. Cabral's sentiments. It's hard to even express into words the level of gratitude we have for this incredible donation, and we're so thankful. So the new scholarship fund is in the amount of $1 million, which will be put into an endowment. It's a minimum of 4 scholarships a year.
Recording in progress.
The 2 of them will go to, again, people following up in careers in nursing, and secondly, in K-12 education specifically. So the donor has specifically asked that financial need be a major consideration in selecting the recipients, as much as the student's character and academic achievement on equal levels. I would like to share what the donor wrote regarding his experience here at, his or her experience here at Oliver Ames, because I think it helps to give a human factor to this donation, as well as I want to share this in gratitude of what they've done. They state, at my graduation, I was awarded scholarships totaling about $500, and what I'm doing now is paying it forward to a new generation of OA graduates. I have fond memories of my OA teachers, especially Miss Foster, Miss Healy, and teachers/coaches Moscato and Nixon. I have been blessed with good health, but some of my family and friends are not as fortunate. While I am always impressed with the skill and knowledge of their doctors, what I remember more clearly was the personal care and compassion exhibited by their nurses. That's why this scholarship fund is being dedicated to future teachers and nurses. This scholarship fund will be managed by the Easton Town Treasurer, as well as the school committee if you voted in. And the Director of School Counseling, currently Ms. Mancuso, will be in charge of making sure that we very thoroughly examine all of the candidates who meet the qualifications, and that we give as much scholarship money every year as the endowment allows us to provide these students with the financial need that they have, or the finance needs they have in order to pursue their passions. Do you have any questions for me?
Anyone have any questions or comments? Nancy? No?
Michelle?
Yes, Caroline, thank you.
Just a quick comment. I think the word amazing is the most overused word in the English language at this point, but I have to say that is the word that popped into my head. I mean, this is really incredible. And the generosity that this individual has demonstrated is just inspiring. So many thanks to that individual. In a way, I'm sorry that he or she has chosen to remain anonymous, because it would be kind of, well, it'd be exciting to know who it is. But on the other hand, you know, I think anonymity in this kind of situation is really an indication of humility and, you know, just generosity beyond compare.
It really sends that message of caring and not so much looking for the self-acknowledgement, which
Right.
is wonderful. And that's the compassion that they talk about in their message.
I would add that, you know, not all of us has or will ever have the capacity to set up such a scholarship, but I think we can take from this the idea of paying it forward. And I think that's very important also, in addition to the power of the scholarships themselves. I think it's important for us to recognize and internalize the idea of paying it forward in any way that any of us has the ability to do so.
Nancy?
Yes, as Caroline said, amazing. This is wonderful. And listening to Ms. Kavanaugh talking about Ms. Foster, she was a junior senior English teacher at Oliver Ames. My mom actually had her. Miss Healy was a dynamic math teacher. She was unbelievable. And, you know, you had her and probably hated having her while you went through, but you learned an awful lot. And then, of course, Mr. Moscato and Mr. Nixon, both, you know, fabulous coaches. They also taught. Mr. Moscato was a physics teacher and Mr. Nixon was a history teacher. And just, you know, the accomplishments that each one of them had. But for this donor, just to realize what these kids today need, the cost of college, books, just being at college now is so much more expensive than, you know, years and years ago. So many thank yous to this donor and very much appreciated.
Jen?
I also wanted to, Nancy, I love that you have the history of everybody. That's, it really, it adds so much. I always appreciate when you chime in with that. But just, you know, I appreciate the donor's anonymity, but would love to be able to express my gratitude towards him or her for just this incredible act of continued generosity that will make such a huge difference to all of the students who receive these awards. It's really amazing. So thank you to whoever you are. If you ever watch this or you know, see this someday, please know that we are eternally grateful for your generosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the scholarship or the endowment?
I so moved. I will make that motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Star second.
Okay, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes, I was having trouble unmuting.
Durant, yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
Great, and thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, personnel changes, retirements, Parkview kindergarten teacher and paraprofessional at RO, Dr. Cabral.
Thank you. We have two this evening. First is Mrs. Hannigan. Darlene Hannigan is here, and I'm going to ask that she is brought over to the panel. Mrs. Hannigan began her career in Easton in 1987 as a kindergarten teacher in Moreau Hall. In 1992, she worked at the North Easton Grammar School as a kindergarten teacher and a Chapter 1 teacher. She transferred back to Moreau Hall in 1993. She achieved her professional teaching status in 1990, and in 2006, she transferred from Moreau Hall to Parkview, where she remains today as a kindergarten teacher. She's been with the district a total of 35 years, and she plans to retire at the conclusion of this school year in June. I will say that she is also a union representative, and so she's been a wonderful advocate for her peers. She's been wonderful to deal with, both as a teacher, colleague, and also as a representative of the union, and she is going to be missed terribly. I think I told her in when I received her retirement letter that it is just always such a joy to be in her room and with her students. And once again, we are seeing wonderful dedication, experience, and just a lovely person in general walking out the door. But it is for a great cause. It is a well-deserved retirement, and we wish her very, very well in her long and healthy retirement.
Great, and I have her letter. Dear Dr. Cabral, Ms. Pruitt, and Easton School Committee members, little did I know when I began my practicum teaching in first grade classroom behind the library at Central School in the fall of 1985 that I would continue on to teach in kindergarten at Moreau Hall in the fall of 1986. Little did I know that this would lead to my first job with the Easton Public Schools as a kindergarten teacher at Moreau Hall in the fall of 1987. Little did I know this would begin a 35-year journey. I wouldn't have known that I would spend 19 years at Moreau Hall. That included 1 year at Northeastern Grammar School. Little did I know that I would go on to teach another 16 years at Parkview School. I wouldn't have known that my Easton career would take me through 7 principals, 6 superintendents. Little did I know that I would settle in Easton, raise my family here, see my children go through Easton Public Schools. Little did I know that I would teach many children of students that I had taught earlier in my career. Little did I know that so many families would welcome me into their lives and make such incredible memories. Little did I know. In the words of Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. With a full heart and anticipation of what comes next in my life, I submit my letter and intent to retire as of June 30th, 2022. Darlene Hannigan. I love that letter. I don't know if anyone in the school committee wants to make a comment, question. No? Nancy?
Darlene, congratulations. You are going to love retirement. Let me just tell you that. I think we taught about the same amount of years, 35, 36. So, and it, bumping into you now and then is always a joy. And I wish you the best. You deserve this. And thank you very much for your wonderful work over 35 years.
Thank you.
Jen?
Mrs. Hannigan, congratulations. And I hope you're looking forward to a well-deserved time off. Just want to give a tribute as the parent of a kindergartner who had Mrs. Hannigan. She had probably my wildest of my wild children, quite the tornado, and was just this wonderful, calming, patient presence with even a kid who was a big handful. So just, your classroom always just radiated such positive energy, and you were just such a pro and had everything all under control, even with these little tornado kids under your instruction. So thank you. You're a phenomenal teacher. I'm very grateful that one of my kids was able to have you. So, and again, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. I remember him well.
He makes an impression.
All right. Anyone else? No. Mrs. Hannigan, I don't know if you'd like to say anything.
I just had a couple of things, and I think it was more so, I think of Chrissy. You have an in-service or a conference or a workshop, and they always want to know what your takeaways are from that. And I had two that really resonate with me as I'm leaving. First of all, as over the course of 35 years, you can only imagine the academics that we ask of kindergartners has grown incredibly. The kids will always amaze us at how well and their capacity to learn. But saying that, you have to remember, and still, I hope that somebody still does, that kindergarten kids are still 5 and 6 years old, and the world is for them a lot to take in, especially these past couple of years. They need to talk and sing and dance and laugh and play every day. My second takeaway would be that as a school system, we're in the business of raising and growing good people. If kids feel valued and listened to, cared for and supported, safe and loved in the classroom, they'll all thrive. And I think if we can keep those couple of things in mind as we go forward, we're going to be great educators for all these little ones. But it's been my takeaway, those two things most important of all. But thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Hannigan.
And I just gotta say, I know this isn't a question, but your daughter says, "Woo, go mom." In the chat.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
wanted to share that.
They're all over the place watching. Thank you
Oh,
very
that's
much.
great.
No, I just, if I
And
may.
my mom and dad too, so.
Oh, that's wonderful.
If I may just add, I am a first grade teacher at heart. That's where my career began. But I did student teaching in kindergarten, and I always say that the most difficult grade to teach is kindergarten. And if anyone ever sat in Mrs. Hannigan's class, she makes it look like the easiest thing in the world. She is so gifted at what she does. And even in her last year before retirement, she is still working hard for every child in that classroom, and even children throughout the kindergarten class. Darlene, you are going to be so missed. And I hope you come back to substitute for us because you have such knowledge. Definitely take a break, but you will definitely be missed, and I will miss you. I will miss you dearly.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Okay, well, I have a motion to accept the resignation letter with regrets.
Retirement, sorry.
Sorry, with regrets for Darlene Hannigan.
Again, with regret, O'Neill, so moved.
Can I get a second?
Wiseman,
Second, DeLuca.
Somebody, please.
I know. All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durance, yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
Thank you, and congratulations, and enjoy.
Thank you. Our second retirement this evening is a paraprofessional who unfortunately is unable to join us, but Terry Bliss began her career in Easton as a para at the Richardson School, what was the Richardson School, in 2010. She moved to a full-time position in 2012, where she remains today at Richardson Olmsted. She has been with the district for 12 years, and her retirement was effective January 7th. So we are, excuse me, we always try to highlight just how important our paraprofessionals are to our day-to-day operations. Ms. Bliss is certainly no exception. We thank her very much for her service to our kids and wish her a very, very happy and healthy retirement as well.
Okay, I have her letter. Dear Chris, this email is to inform you that I will be retiring from my paraprofessional position in Easton Public Schools effective on February on Friday, January 7th, 2022. My last day will be Friday, January 7th, 2022. It has been a very rewarding experience, and I appreciate all the time I've spent in the Easton Public School systems. Sincerely, Terry Bliss. Any questions, comments? Can I get a motion to accept the retirement of Terry Bliss with regrets?
Are so moved with regret.
Can I get a second?
O'Neill second.
All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durant, yes.
Yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
All right, thank you. And good luck and enjoy. Okay, COVID update. Dr. Cabral?
Hey, we have some COVID updates. As you know, we've had a huge uptick in COVID cases. However, as predicted and as happened last year at exactly the same time, we are seeing that arc now on the downslide. I say that very cautiously, optimistically. Last year, our peak ended around the third week of January. We are entering that week right now, and we are seeing that Mrs. Pruitt is going to share with you the difference between our positive cases this week and last week, as well as some other information as in our ongoing efforts to stay on top of the paperwork, the requirements, the notifications, et cetera, with COVID. But we are very encouraged that what we're seeing in the state and in the district is showing a crack in the surge. And we are hoping that, as was the case last year and as is predicted by the CDC and Massachusetts health officials, that we are hopefully abating slowly as we slide into February. And believe me, the staff could really use the respite. I know COVID's not gone and it won't be going away, but this surge has been extremely difficult on everyone. And I just want to make sure that I publicly acknowledge all of our fantastic educators, administrators, support staff, our drivers, custodians, our nurses, everyone that has pitched in to keep our entire staff and students as safe as possible. And I would argue one of the safest systems in the Commonwealth right now, due to our shared commitments and our vigilance in keeping one another protected. And I really credit everyone with doing that while managing their full-time jobs, which are taxing in a quote unquote normal year. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Pruitt for the COVID update for this evening.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to name the elephant in the room, and the elephant would be Omicron. There is a new word that we are consistently using over and over again, and that is surge. You know, in the last year there were other words, but this word right now is surge, which is very appropriate for the time, and it is due to the Omicron variant that is out there. So I just want to share with you the current state of where we're at in the Easton Public Schools. Over the break, we did obtain the new quarantine and isolation protocols from CDC that DESE is also implementing. And that is that if a person tests positive for COVID-19, that they are to isolate for 5 days instead of 10. And they can leave isolation on day 6 if they have been fever-free for 24 hours, as well as seeing a decrease in symptoms.
Mrs. Pruitt, can I interject for one moment?
Absolutely.
Only because there's a lot of confusion about that. The day, excuse me, the day that someone becomes positive, for COVID is actually considered day 0. And I know that that can be confusing for people. So when we say 5 days, that first day is day 0. The next day is day 1.
And actually, Dr. Cabral, it's the first day. If you have symptoms, it's the first day of symptoms.
Of symptoms, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have symptoms, it's the first day of your test. That's day 0, and then it's 5 days, and then you can resume activities on day 6. So it's actually a total of 7 days, 5 in isolation. But that is something that we've had a lot of questions about, and we just ask people to check in with your nurse if you're unsure, or check in the playbook.
Right.
Sorry, Mrs. Pruitt.
Thank you. No, thank you. And also for quarantine, if someone is identified as a close contact and is not vaccinated, they are required to quarantine. If they are determined to be a close contact outside of school, they're required to quarantine for 5 days. Again, the last date of exposure is considered day 0, and then we count the next day as day 1. That quarantine process is for 5 days as well, and on day 6 they can leave. We are not requiring a test during that 5-day quarantine, where in the past we were. So there is a change in that. And also, of course, if during the quarantine a close contact does develop symptoms, well, then we take the alternate route, which is more quarantine and also testing. And if you are a close contact in school, then you do qualify for the test and stay program. As you know, we are currently in a surge. You know that nationwide, it's all over the news. We see it every day. We get alerts on our phone. And also the other thing to know is that the mask mandate that has been extended by the commissioner until the end of February. So that has been made official in the past, within the past week. We are implementing, as of this week, the EPS COVID-19 positive reporting form. This is, so over vacation, if a child tested positive for COVID, the families were filling out a Google form, a survey, providing information and we were taking the data and giving it to the nurses upon return from the break. We are now using that same format. However, what's happening is the data that is coming in is auto-populating to a Google Sheet that gets disseminated to each school nurse. So it's wonderful how technology works in that sense. But if I am a parent at Moreau Hall and my child tests positive, I fill out the form, I click on Moreau Hall, and my information goes directly to the nurse at Moreau Hall, and no other nurse has access to that, that the child is positive. And the reason why we're implementing this rather than having families call the nurse directly is we are literally seeing 50 calls a day, if not more, to some of our nursing staff regarding cases. And it's very difficult to keep up. We're finding that it's great. We can gather the information in another way so that the nurses have time to call parents, to provide more medical advice, to seek more information. But the basic information that we need to gather, we can do that through a Google form. And that has been well received. We have parents completing it. So I thank you to the parents and the families. The contact tracing is also, the increase in contact tracing has just been unbearable. In fact, I've spoken to families that have shared that they've received 10, 15 close contact letters a week for their one child. And that's due to, at the secondary level, class changes, whether they are identified in multiple classes. We have to do the contact tracing, and then it just, the letters are just continuously going out. You can also imagine that the amount of time that our administrators are actually conducting that contact tracing, talking to teachers. Were they in groups? Were they doing this? So forth and so on. And it has consumed their time. And our administrators are not able to do some of the key jobs that they need to do in educating our children. So, so I just wanted to let you know that, because you'll see at the end some next steps that we have to address that. And then we are receiving more support from DESE and CIC again. So we are having another nurse, 2 more nurses come and assist in our test and stay and symptomatic testing programs. But it's important to know that any help that we're receiving from CIC and from DESE, they are only allowed to support us for testing students. They can't help with any other nursing responsibilities that come with COVID. They could only assist us with testing. That is the contract that DESE signed with CIC, and we have been notified of those requirements. Our test and stay program continues along with symptomatic testing. I should have put that next to it. I think I have that at the end. And just to keep, these changes come so quickly, as you know, and please continue to look at the playbook as it is being updated constantly. In fact, it was just updated again today. And again, the COVID-19 dashboard is updated regularly. Okay, so I share this with you because we didn't meet last week, and this was our highest number so far. So you can see here in the weekly cases, and this is from the break and our first week back. Again, our reporting dates are from Thursday to Wednesday. We recorded 280 cases in the district. And you can see here where that data falls, but there was a high number of positive cases in each building, both with staff and with students.
And that was last week.
That was last week. And this week's data does decrease. So you'll see in the line plots that I have coming that you'll see a sharp, it looks like a sharp decline, but it's still a lot of cases. We have 204 cases reported this week. Where that is a decrease, it's still over 200. So we are still in the midst of a surge. And you can
I'm
find
sorry,
this.
Chrissy.
Yep.
Oh, we can't, are you showing us, trying to show us a graph?
No, just no
current state
chart right now. I'm sorry?
I only see current state, your first
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
Me
really?
too.
Yeah.
That's all we see.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me stop sharing and then reshare. Okay, whoops. And now I'm totally, okay. I'm so sorry.
Professional punters, we're used to it. It's perfect.
Yes.
Fine.
And this weird thing is that I lost you all on my computer. I can't see you. Okay.
Down the bottom, do you have the Zoom icon?
Yeah, it's totally blank here. Are you not seeing anything now? Just each other?
Correct.
Okay. Let me see.
I will take this opportunity to say that our next agenda item is public comment because we do only take public comment during public comment. So I just wanted to give people an opportunity if they had comments this evening that to know that that is the one coming up, to make sure that in the Q&A section underneath or at the bottom of your screen, to please make sure you put your name and your address. That's just open meeting law requirements. And we will address those after the COVID presentation is finished, just to give people time to prepare so that they don't miss the public comment portion.
So my computer has frozen.
Of course it has.
Of course. So what I can do is kind of go over the data, although the visuals are, let me see. So you're only seeing right now each other?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And you.
And me. I can't even see you. That's so weird.
Would
All
you
right.
like us to move to public comment and come back to you?
Well, the public comment may have to do with this. So I don't know if
Okay.
there are some public comments you can address, and then I can.
There aren't any right now. There is a person who put their name, but there's no address and no question. So just if you are looking to put a question and you type your name in, just know that the question has not come through. If you want to try that again, your address and your question, please. Or comment. Other than that, we don't have anything right now.
Dr. Cabral, do you have the presentation?
I don't. I would have.
I just shared it with you, Lisa.
Okay, do you want me to share it? It hasn't come through yet.
Yeah,
Your computer is very much messing with you.
I'm wondering, okay.
All right, it just came through.
All right, so I can talk through it without seeing anybody, if that's okay. Can you present it, Leisha?
Yes, of course. Sorry, I thought
Thank
you
you.
had said, thought you were saying you got it.
No, and then when we move on, I can fiddle with this. I can't see anything, so you have to tell me what's up.
Yep, I will. Together we make one brain. It's perfect.
Okay.
All right, school committee, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Presentation. Okay, we are at the Easton Public Schools COVID-19 dashboard data.
Okay, so the first, so if you look up in the corner, in the top left corner, it says 12/30/21, right? Is that the one
Yes.
you're on? Okay.
Yes.
So that was last week's data, and you can see that we had 280 cases throughout the district, mostly at the high school with 119. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see that we have decreased in the quantity of cases. However, like I said before, it is still over 200. Next slide. So this is what I was talking about, the line plot. If you can see that it looks like it's like a sharp decline, but it's again still over 200 cases. We are completely, I think that this is very telling that we are in the middle of a surge. And this is the year to date for all staff and students. And if you look at the next one, you can see the difference between students and staff. However, we have to remember are you on the next slide, Leisha?
I am.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
You can see that, we have many more students in the district, but both lines pretty much mirror each other, which is definitely something that we're seeing throughout the country as well. Next slide. This is just looking at it by grade span. Again, they pretty much mirror each other. And you can see the sharp increase at the high school level. And next slide, again, just comparing the year to date. And if you click on the next slide, this slide should say the EPS reported COVID positive, and it's comparing last year to this year.
Correct.
You can see we are way above the quantity of cases that we had last year. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see the trajectory of the year. So like Leisha said, last year we did see at this time a little dip. We do see an increase coming towards the end with for example, we have the long weekend coming up. So we may expect that this line goes up a little bit, but then you can see in the weeks to come, we are anticipating that the cases will go down. And if you click on the next slide, that shows where we currently are with that yellow highlighted line. And then if you click on the next slide, it should say what's next.
Yes.
Okay. So, so just one thing to consider is that we have reduced the number of letters we're sending home. For example, we are only contacting parents if their child is a 0 to 3 foot close contact. We are going to reinforce come Monday, starting on Monday, that all classrooms be at least 3 feet apart. And due to that, we are at the secondary level to reduce the number of close contact notices that parents are getting, but also because of the precautions that we're taking, we are going to, from this point on, contact trace only at lunch. We recognize at lunchtime, the masks are pulled down.
For secondary.
For secondary, yes. There's no change in contact tracing for PK to 5 at this time. The contact tracing that needs to occur at lunch is due to the close proximity without masks for grades 6 through 12. So that will help with the number of the amount of time that our staff need to contact trace, and also the number of phone calls that the nurses need to make. One thing to basically consider is and to remember is that we are in the midst of a surge. So any symptom that your child may have, a scratchy throat right now is not just a scratchy throat anymore. I don't know if you remember, and I feel fine to share this, but at one of our last meetings when I had lost my voice, it turns out that I ended up having COVID. So I know that, that we think sometimes that we are well and that it is just a cold, but it ends up being turning into being COVID.
Right, particularly for vaccinated individuals, we're finding that it does mirror cold symptoms very closely. And so we have had many staff members and students say that they really thought they just had a cold. They felt like they could function fine and be in school. They just had a runny nose, maybe combined with a headache, or as Mrs. Pruitt said, a scratchy throat. We're asking parents, let's just take these extra precautions for your child and for your family as well, and make sure that we are not underestimating what in the past would have been considered cold symptoms that we just sort of powered through, because this is, of course, very infectious. And we want to make sure that we keep it as contained as possible. I do want to make sure that even though we are expecting the surge to decrease, that doesn't mean that people are going to be more lax in their precautions. We're only going to see the decrease if people continue with this vigilance and this level of vigilance as the trend goes down. It has to be the combination of both. And so as Mrs. Pruitt said, we were sending close contact letters between 0 and 3 feet, but because the expectation is for all students at the secondary level to have their desks 3 feet apart from one another, that makes that a moot point for the most part, except when they're at lunch. We just don't have the space, especially on our inclement days. And so we're asking everyone to utilize universal precautions at all times, and they will be contacted if their child is a close contact at lunch. For grades PK through 5, the contact tracing remains the same, because we still are trying to keep desks 3 feet apart, but we also are very realistic that small children tend to sit on the floor with one another, or they will get very close to one another when they're in a line. And just to be perfectly safe, we're going to make sure that we are notifying parents to look for those symptoms. That's also our least vaccinated population. And so we're going to continue with those notifications.
Right.
I'm sorry, can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
What about in the upper grades for PE?
They should be they are separated.
Yeah. The only time they should have that
they're outside
proximity is
right.
at lunch. Oh, band is also another place where they are exercising extra space. Correct. So really we're only anticipating the issue to be at lunch.
And I also will tell you that our nurse leader did text me right before the meeting to let me know that at her nurse leader meeting this morning, excuse me, they were notified that there are more changes to contact tracing coming through DESE. I then contacted Anne Marie at DESE, who said that there is more guidance coming. So this also may change, but there is more guidance coming because they do understand and recognize how time consuming this is and how that it's just it's an overwhelming process.
It's taking away from other very important
Absolutely.
services like our symptomatic students and symptomatic testing.
Correct.
And DESE did support us moving forward with this.
Yes. And I just wanted to, remind everyone, we are continuing the test and stay. It will limit the test and stay up at the secondary with contact tracing just at the lunch, but we are utilizing the symptomatic testing, and that will, with the relief of the multiple people of contact tracing, we will be able to focus more on those with symptoms, which will be very beneficial. And like I shared at the beginning, please continue to reference the Return to School playbook. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to the nurses. The clinics that consistently look, I know that many people are utilizing the free testing that the town is doing. Please take those opportunities, as well as the vaccine and booster clinics. And then I keep this on here as the last bullet of be kind. This is a very tense time, and I understand that people are angry. I have been receiving angry emails, and I encourage conversations. So, if you send me an angry email, I will ask for a meeting, because I would love to talk to you and hear what your concerns are, because this is a very trying time, and we also really welcome any feedback. So I just wanted to share that with you. And also, there are so many people that are being kind out there. I've spoken to many families, especially over vacation, where their children tested positive, and they we're very thankful for the support that we as a school district are offering. So that's that. That's the Omicron variant and the update that I have for you this evening. Are there any questions?
I can't see anybody. So, there we go. Any questions, comments? I don't think so. Thank you. Okay. Public comment.
We have one from Leonardo Bellini, 752 Foundry Street, Easton. With the numbers predicted to go down and out-of-state field trips being allowed, why can we not have in-person meetings for the school committee, since the town meeting was done in person at OA? Mrs. Durantz?
As of now, all the town committees are still remote, so we're following suit.
Okay. Kathleen Sheehan, Harrison Avenue. Caroline, can you please clarify what research indicates that vaccinated individuals carry a much lower viral load than unvaccinated individuals and clear the virus more quickly? Please be specific. With all of the misinformation floating around, she thinks that it's imperative that individuals who are in positions of authority clearly differentiate between peer-reviewed research and opinion. Also, what percentage of students and staff have been fully vaccinated? I can tell you that 97% of staff have been fully vaccinated. We don't have the number for students just yet, as we have many students still pursuing vaccination.
Yeah, especially at the younger age levels.
Is that 97% across the
Of
district?
staff, yes. Caroline?
Well, I don't really have in my notes the exact names of the various epidemiologists and others that have stated that it appears, and I hope I did frame it that way, that people who are vaccinated clear the virus more quickly than people who are unvaccinated. Certainly that I've read many places, but I've also read the suggestion by some, folks at the usual places where I look at the Bloomberg School and so on, the Mailman School of Public Health, that the viral loads tend to be lower, or at least tend to become lower more quickly. That right now, I don't know whether those are, I mean, those are always people that I deeply respect because they come from institutions that are widely respected in the field, but I don't have the specific names with me right now. And I'm sure you could find some of these opinions yourself if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. That was it for public comment?
No.
Okay.
Kathleen Sheehan, Harrison Avenue. What % of students and staff have been previously infected? That information is on our dashboard. The dashboard is longitudinal. So if you click on the buttons at the bottom on our district website, you can see all the way back to the beginning of when it was recorded last year.
Actually, I think it's just this school year that's on the dashboard. Yes.
Okay.
But we still have it archived, so I can share that with
if you, Ms. Sheehan, if you are interested in the infections last year, then please email Mrs. Pruitt and she can send you that information. Anything from this year is on our dashboard on our website. And number 2, she wants to thank the EMS school nurse. We have 2. They're both wonderful, so I'm going to let them share credit, who took the time to respond to her emails on New Year's Eve. She was very kind and informative. I would just add that we are very blessed with the medical professionals we have on staff, and we've gotten wonderful feedback about how kind and informative all of them have been. So thank you for sharing that, Ms. Sheehan. And that is it for public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, Superintendent Notes, Dr. Cabral.
Very quickly, I did want to just update you on the South Shore Consortium that we have 11 districts participating in right now. We have signed an intermunicipal agreement to work with one another on early college and career pathways. And as I noted, I think at our last meeting, we are now pursuing conversations with other private institutions. So we began, as you know, with trying to create pathways for our students who find college to be out of reach or intimidating or cost prohibitive, excuse me. And we were able to make some connections with some of our state colleges and universities, as well as certification programs for CNA, EMT, and phlebotomy. Now we are working with relationships in private colleges and universities, and I had a meeting today with one of them. It looks very promising. As soon as we get articulation agreements done with those schools, we will bring those forward to you as well. But as I noted, our goal is to really reach out to colleges and universities that have a specialty. This is very different than dual enrollment or AP, where it's maybe one course that any college or university could accept. We're looking to help our students find actual pathways into programs that they can matriculate into, areas that are of interest to them in schools that are very strong in certain content areas. And so we are putting together opportunities for pre-law, pre-med, business and advertising, as well as architecture and design, psychology, and engineering, and computer science. And we will definitely be letting you know as soon as we have those agreements finalized, and we will be introducing these to students as soon as enrollment is open. Once again, just reminding you that we are creating agreements with these institutions that will allow our students to earn up to 30 credits that will then be rolled over into the program that they can matriculate into the college or university, thereby reducing the time not only that they are in the program in college, but we are at least for the first 2 years of this program, we are using grant funds to pay for the tuitions. And so students, again, are going to, as we spoke about earlier, find some relief from the very exorbitant cost of higher education right now. So it is the first consortium of its kind in the Commonwealth. We're very proud of it. We just put together a collaborative grant application for early college funds. Early college has just become a priority of the DESE administration, which is perfect timing for us. We put together our collaborative, and then they made it a priority and are now putting out many, many grant opportunities for early college. Because we're already organized, we are able to apply for those grants very readily and quickly. We have the structure in place. And so we hope to continue being able to offer these free of cost or at a very highly subsidized cost for our students for many years to come. So that's one update. The other, which is also very positive news, is that Senator Timilty called me this week to let me know that he advocated on our behalf for tuition funds, for tutoring funds for our students, and that $100,000 has been earmarked for the Easton Public Schools from ARPA funds for tutoring for our students. So we were hoping to continue our summer enrichment program. We now have the opportunity to expand that. We also have the opportunity to now investigate the need for after-school opportunities, credit recovery for our high school students. As we all know, this has been a trying time for students academically, and this is really going to provide an unbelievable opportunity for our students to get back on track, but also to exceed expectations and prepare them even better, whether it's for their next year of study here or for their continued studies outside of the Easton Public Schools. So we thank Senator Timilty once again for his advocacy on behalf of the Easton Public Schools, and we're very grateful for being able to use those funds. They will be put to very good use, for sure. And that's it for me.
Thank you. All right, Assistant Superintendent Notes, Chrissy.
So I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow is our professional development day. So the students will not be in school and our teachers will be embarking in professional development. We have a keynote from Dr. Donovan Livingston. I can forward that link to the school committee if you'd like to attend. Dr. Livingston, he is wonderful, and he wrote his book Liftoff is after a speech that went viral that he gave at the Harvard Graduate School of Education around equity and diversity. Dr. Cabral and I had the privilege of speaking with him and sharing with him just about Easton and things that we were doing within the district. And he took how many pages, Leisha? 6 pages of notes on all the wonderful things that are happening here in Easton. So I'm excited for our staff to hear him speak. And we did have this week Debbie Irving come and speak to the community. She was fantastic. The feedback has been remarkable on her presentation. We are looking, we are going to be continuing the equity series. So we ask the community to look out for more information coming. And if anyone has topics or ideas that they would like addressed in our equity series, please email me and let me know so that we can look at that. We're looking to bring Jessica Minahan to come and speak to the community. We had her in the district a few years ago, very well received, and we'd like to bring her back to the district and some others. So keep your eye out for that. And that's all I have at this time.
All right, thank you. School committee notes. Nobody? Okay. Oh, Nancy.
Michelle?
Yep.
Yep, sorry. Just recently, we've lost 3 former Easton public school teachers. Mr. Richard Tellier, who was a music teacher for many years in Easton, Mr. Joseph Freitas, who worked at the middle school, I believe he was science, and also most recently, Miss Patricia Baker, who was very active at Parkview and with the whole music program in Easton. And actually, after she retired, she subbed a lot. So just, you know, a little, whatever, a little remembrance for those three people. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else? Okay.
Michelle,
Yes.
it's Jen. Sorry, I know you can't see everybody. Is that the update from Timilty is huge. Wow.
Very exciting.
Really, yeah, that's really great. And I know some families who had to, where their kids had to do credit recovery in another town.
Yes.
And the logistics of getting just transportation and the scheduling and everything was very, very challenging, in addition to an extremely challenging situation to begin with. So to be able to offer that right here in Easton, I think will be really well received and hugely, hugely valuable to kids who are already in a very precarious situation. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so definitely tons of thanks to Timilty, to Senator Timilty, for getting that for us. That's excellent.
All right. Caroline, do you have anything?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay, Jackie? No? Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't leave anyone out. Okay. All right, so before we go into executive session, I have our next meeting for January 27th at 5 o'clock. Is that what everyone has? That works for everyone? Okay, so our next meeting will be January 27th, 2022 at 5 o'clock. Thank you. All right. So I would like to make a motion to enter into executive session and not to return to open session for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to litigation and bargaining. And in my opinion, having this discussion in public would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee. Do I have a second?
Star
O'Neill
second.
Okay. We'll
O'Neill
call vote.
third, no. O'Neill, yes.
Yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you guys